Alright, this is a walkthrough of the laser lab. I know that this is a Java lab and they can be kind of finicky, so if you can't get the lab to work, I hope you're watching this, and I'm going to work my way through the lab, and it's up to you to write down your observations. Please don't forget to do these questions. For some reason, people always seem to forget them. I've opened up the lab, and I'm going to go to one atom, and I'm going to mess around with the intensity of a lamp that's illuminating some a single atom in this case, and we're going to make some observations. We can mess around with the intensity, and we can mess around with the energy of the lamp, and pay attention to what's required for photon absorption to occur. So here we have the atom, and here we have the lamp, and I'm going to go ahead and spit some photons at it. Now, one thing to pay attention to is this is the electron inside of the atom, and you can kind of see that it's going to absorb a photon. It's going to jump the electron up to a higher state, and eventually that photon jumps down, and electron jumps down, and a photon is emitted. What we can do is we can mess around with the wavelength of this thing, and right now the wavelength of this thing is tuned to be just the right frequency such that absorption occurs. If I were to go to a different color, the energy corresponding to this color is this guy right here, and it doesn't match the energy of this atom, so it's not going to stimulate the atom. If I were to go over here, you can kind of see that now it's going to be lower, and it's not going to stimulate the atom either. So absorption is only going to occur when it's hitting it just at the right level. Now what we're going to do is we're going to increase the lamp intensity and try to hit the atom when it's already excited, and then we're going to mess around with the lifetime. We're going to increase and decrease the lifetime of this thing. So here you can kind of see the atom's already excited, and the photons, well, they can't really stimulate this atom, so they just keep on going about their merry way. Now the lifetime, that's how long the atom's going to hold on to that electron in the excited state, and I'm going to turn this thing down a little bit so we can definitely see what's happening. And I'm going to pay attention to what's happening with the lifetime, and I'm going to turn the lifetime all the way down, and you can kind of see that it spits the photon out very quickly. The electron tends not to hang out in that excited state. So now I'm going to hit the reset all, and now I've messed around with the lifetime, and you should be able to answer all of these guys. Now I'm going to go to 2 energy levels, and I'm going to change it up to 3 energy levels, and pay attention to the effects. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to mess around with the lamps, and first I'm going to illuminate it only with the second lamp, and then I'm going to turn both lamps on. So here I've got my 3 energy levels. I'm going to leave this lamp turned off, and I'm going to turn this lamp on. And what we can kind of see is we have our electron, and sometimes it goes up into this excited state, and sometimes it goes up into that excited state. And it can spit out different colors now. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn this lamp on, and you should be able to make some observations, just kind of paying attention to this electron as it's hopping. And that should probably be enough. Note that lasing is not occurring just yet. So what we're going to do, we realize, is one atom's not enough to do a laser. So we're going to select multiple atoms, and we're going to start pumping some photons onto this thing, and pay attention to the photons. So we'll go to multiple atoms here, and I'll go ahead and I'll turn this thing on. And now we have some electrons that are hanging out here, and now we have more of them because we have more atoms, and we don't quite have lasing yet. So let's see what the lab's going to tell us what to do next. We want to get this thing to laze, so why isn't this working? So what we're going to do is we're going to start messing around with some lifetimes, and what we can also do is we can enable some mirrors in just a little bit. So I'll hop back to the simulation right here, And what we're essentially trying to do is we're trying to build a population inversion, and what that boils down to is we want to have lots of photons hanging out, or electrons hanging out at this particular level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decrease the lifetime of level number 3 and hope that these electrons will jump down into lifetime number 2 and we'll get a large population hanging out there. So what you can kind of see is now we have a lot more hanging out into, we're seeing a lot more red light. Now we can go ahead and enable laser or mirrors, and essentially I put a mirror right here and I put a mirror right here, and now you can see that these guys are starting to bounce back and forth, and they're actually stimulating the other atoms to release their electrons. So this is called stimulated emission. Now I'm decreasing the mirror reflectivity over here because, well, it was going up into the danger tab, and you can see light kind of spilling out. This is a single color, coherent light, and this is more or less a laser. We can spit out more light, kind of like this. And what's happening is, well, we spit out all of our light, and we didn't have a lot of stimulated emission going on. If the mirrors were 100% reflective, then we start to get too much stimulated emission, and this is kind of a bad thing. You can kind of see that here we have lots of lasing, getting more, and eventually we will actually blow up our laser if this was the case. So I blew the laser up. Excellent. So that should be enough for you to finish the lab.